So it's been a while since we've done a Who Would Win, but in honor of the upcoming God of War for PlayStation 4 coming out, we've decided to find out who would win between two different gods of war. Today, Key Issues breaks down who would win in a battle between Kratos and Wonder Woman. So the reviews for God of War are out, and they're looking pretty good, man. The new game has me hyped, I gotta say, and this video is going to cover about 0% of that. After all, we're not traditionally a YouTube channel dedicated to video games, but occasionally we have these characters who transcend video games and become cultural icons. Characters like Mario, Link, Ryu, Master Chief, and Knack. I'm just kidding. Nobody cares about Knack. Kratos is one of those characters who transcends his original franchise. The Ghost of Sparta is the lead in the wildly successful God of War franchise that spawned out a bajillion different video games and an upcoming series-wide reboot. But that's not even close to everything that Kratos has been in. He starred in multiple comic book series, novels, animated shows like The Simpsons and Robot Chicken, and crossed over into a number of other video games. So at this point, it's kind of hard not to know who he is or where he comes from. Wonder Woman, on the other hand, is a cultural icon. You probably don't need me to explain that Wonder Woman's a popular character. She's been in one of the biggest movies of all time recently. She starred in comics for decades. She's arguably the most popular female comic book character, hell, probably the most popular female hero of all time. She's been in live-action TV, animated TV, video games, novels, radio shows, board games, and pretty much anywhere else you can think of. So, that being said, with that little bit of backstory aside, let's start by discussing Kratos. First off, it's difficult to judge how powerful Kratos is because the nature of his adventures dictate that he becomes progressively more strong as each game advances, gaining new strength and weaponry. But by the end of God of War 3, he's basically an all-powerful entity and even able to topple the almighty Zeus. Whoa! Spoiler alert for an 8-year-old game. Feel free to complain about it in the comments. But to begin, in his most basic form, Kratos was a Greek army general with a thirst for power. After losing a battle and facing death, he called to aid from the Greek god of war Ares. Ares bestowed upon him his signature Blades of Chaos. The blades were forged in the depths of the underworld by Ares himself, and they are imbued with fire to allow him to burn the shit out of anybody that he feels like attacking. The blades' chains stretch out for a set distance and retract at Kratos' will. But that's not even close to all. Kratos has a number of other weapons at his disposal. So many over the game series that it's kind of hard to list them all, but I'm gonna try. So some notable entries are the Amulet of Ouroboros, a golden amulet that can slow down time, allow teleporting, and accessing the past and rewinding events. The Icarus wings allow Kratos to fly. The boots of Hermes allow him to travel significantly faster. The bow of Apollo, which is basically just a badass, awesome bow. The head of Medusa, which can freeze his enemies and turn them to stone. The head of Helios, which can blind enemies. You get what I'm going with? He rips a lot of heads off here. A golden fleece, which blocks all types of energy blasts and harm in general. The Nemean cestus, which are gauntlets able to deliver powerful blows. The claws of Hades, which are basically ripoffs of the Blades of Chaos, but more powerful. And lastly, he also holds one of the most powerful weapons, the Blade of Olympus. And it actually might be the most powerful blade in existence. It's capable of disintegrating entire armies with a single swing, and it's one of the few weapons able to kill gods and titans. Like many other tragic Greek characters, Kratos' true power, though, comes from his pain. Shortly after Kratos obtains his Blades of Chaos, he's tricked by Ares into murdering his old family. The old Hercules 1-2, murder your family. He's cursed by the local oracle, who forces him to wear the ashes of his dead family on his skin, which is savage, causing his skin to appear forever white. And this also gives him the pretty badass nickname, the Ghost of Sparta. It is Kratos' never-ending rage and pain that kind of fuels this endless war he fights. Kratos is an extremely powerful, fast, and durable character. His strength has been shown to stop the tentacles of kraken-sized monsters. He can chain and rope beings tens to hundreds of sizes bigger than him. He's even been able to stopped mountain-sized titans from crushing him with his raw physical strength. His speed's also incredible. He's fast enough to stop and hurt many mythological creatures and gods like Apollo and Hermes. In terms of durability and healing, he's pretty much tough as nails. He's able to survive attacks from literal gods of Olympus, and he can heal his own wounds. Attacks that would destroy entire cities and armies barely scratch Kratos. Additionally, he is a master strategist. He was a Greek army general for many years and won like a boatload of battles. Similar to Leonidas in 300, Kratos started with a very small army of only 50 men, but was able to amass massive support. Kratos eventually had an army of thousands of soldiers directly under his command. When Kratos also becomes the god of war, he gains a bunch of additional powers, and not every power is shown in the game, but there are a number that are. He basically becomes immortal with unfathomable boundless power. He's able to change his size and his form. He can wipe out entire villages and influence armies with a mere thought. He can conjure powerful weapons from basically nothingness. He even has the ability to create pocket dimensions where he's able to do battle with his full power unleashed. So, all in all, Kratos is pretty strong. Next up, we have Wonder Woman, and before I go any further, I'm going to be using the version of Wonder Woman that has been established since the New 52 and into DC's newer Rebirth line. The reason for that is that the majority of what most modern audiences know about Wonder Woman follows much more closely with this version than any other version. Diana, much like Kratos, is a demigod. She's the half-daughter of Zeus and the queen of the Amazons, Hippolyta. Wonder Woman spent her entire life training to become the best warrior the Amazons were capable of producing. Her enhanced physiology makes her a hero, but the training she received by the Amazons makes her an unstoppable force to be reckoned with. Wonder Woman has a number of abilities. Many of them have changed over the years, but I'm going to use the ones that she normally has in the comics as of today. That means that, yeah, she may have been able to fire lightning in one issue, but for the other 40,000 comics that she's in, she didn't do that, so it's not normal, and I'm not including it. Wonder Woman has tremendous strength, sometimes said to be on par with Superman, making her one of the most physically powerful beings in the universe. She's also incredibly fast. Wonder Woman is super durable and doesn't have any specific weaknesses like Superman does to kryptonite. Due to her demigod status, she also has incredible longevity, meaning she's lived a really long time without showing any signs of being an old bag. Wonder Woman also has superhuman healing and has been shown to be able to withstand a wide variety of magical and physical attacks. Lastly, I almost hesitated to put this one on here, but Wonder Woman more often than not has been able to fly. And I'm choosing to include this on here because for the majority of all of the New 52, she could fly, and currently post-Rebirth, she retained that ability. Wonder Woman also has one of the most famous arsenals at her disposal of any comic book character. Her bracelets are capable of blocking everything from bullets to massive energy blasts. Her lasso, nicknamed the Lasso of Truth, is super strong and durable, and it also compels anyone unfortunate enough to be trapped within it to tell the truth. She has a boomerang tiara, which is pretty neat, albeit kind of dumb. However, her most powerful weapon is undoubtedly her sword. Wonder Woman's sword is so sharp it's said to be able to cut an atom in half. And it does. In the New 52 Superman Wonder Woman arc, when Wonder Woman is trapped, she cuts an atom in half, triggering a nuclear explosion that almost kills her and Superman, except Superman absorbs the blast because he's a boss and he saves her. It's also said that Wonder Woman has a tremendous mind for battle, strategy, and victory, and she's said to be as tactically proficient as Batman. Wonder Woman is kind of the complete package in terms of comic book characters. Now, when it comes to Wonder Woman as the god of war, during the New 52, Wonder Woman is able to kill Ares and becomes the god of war. When she does this, she doesn't exactly gain the same level of power increase as you would imagine. She's still absolutely one of the most powerful beings in the DC universe, but she doesn't become overpowered like Kratos does. She gains a couple different abilities: telepathic communication and mind control over soldiers. She can sense war and assert influence over the perception of war, and she also gains the warrior roar, which temporarily freezes and immobilizes enemies. And that was a lot of information. But now, What happens if they fight? Well, to break that down, let's take a look at a few different things. First, their physical abilities. Second, their battle knowledge and actual abilities. And lastly, their resolve and desire to win. In terms of physicality, this is a ridiculously difficult fight. My heart tells me that they're relatively close in power level, but whenever you have a comic book character going against someone whose power levels are a bit more defined, it's hard. Wonder Woman has done some absolutely incredible things in comic books, and Wonder Woman is by far the more technically gifted fighter. She was trained from birth to be the absolute apex of battle-hardened badassery. Kratos, as a fighter, is extremely powerful, and as he progresses throughout the series, he could probably end up going toe-to-toe with Diana. I think it really depends on when they meet. If they were to meet at the start of God of War 1, he would die immediately. It wouldn't even be fair. Wonder Woman is too strong. But if they were to meet after the events of God of War 1, when Kratos has assumed the mantle of God of War, then I don't think Diana could possibly win the battle. Kratos is a literal god at that point, and he'd easily be able to overpower her. If Diana was to meet Kratos during the events of God of War 2 or 3, or even now, based off what I'm seeing in the newest game, after he's lost his powers and he's making his way back to Mount Olympus, it would depend upon exactly what point they met at. Kratos' powers grow stronger as the story progresses, and by the end of God of War 3, Kratos is able to defeat Zeus again, so a strong case could be made that despite the fact that Wonder Woman is probably more powerful than Kratos, and certainly the more skilled fighter, he could probably win. Diana probably has the advantage here, but it's definitely rocky. Now let's take a look at their battle armor and skills. Wonder Woman's lasso would be a powerful tool to keep Kratos at bay, I admit that, but the main point of the lasso is to compel the user to do what you want them to do or to trap them. Kratos has shown extreme resistance to these types of magical effects, and if the chains of Hades couldn't contain him, this rope ain't gonna do the trick. Next up is their swords. Their swords are both pretty badass, man, but I believe that Kratos has the more powerful weapon. The Blade of Olympus is not only able to kill a god, but it's also able to strip one of its power, rendering them mortal. This would and could be a massive problem for Diana, as she is indeed part god, meaning this blade could kill her. Kratos is at a significant disadvantage in some other areas in terms of speed and flight, where Kratos needs magical artifacts and armor to gain these types of abilities. Diana has them naturally, and therefore probably commands better control of them. However, Kratos certainly has better artifacts and armor at his disposal with things like the bow of Apollo, the Nemean cestus, and the head of Medusa and Helios. Because of this, I'd have to give Kratos the advantage in terms of battle armor. Lastly is the resolve and all-out battle presence. Diana is a proud and strong warrior, and at times in the comics has been shown to make the hard decisions that other characters can't make. But Kratos is pure, unadulterated rage incarnate. Diana often fights for good and the safety of the Amazons and the planet, and Kratos fights for revenge, and sometimes that motivator is more powerful than anything else. Over the course of 3 video games, he cuts a path through the entire Greek pantheon. He becomes god of war, loses his power, and still manages to kill virtually every titan and god in Greek mythology. Diana and Kratos fight a lot of the same types of enemies, so it's interesting to see how they would be able to stack up against similar foes, but Kratos certainly appears to have done more with less in terms of battling the Greek pantheon, so I would have to give it to him in this respect. So, who wins? Wonder Woman versus Kratos? Ultimately, I think the battle goes to Kratos. He's just as powerful as Diana, with a more impressive arsenal of abilities and weaponry. His battle presence and training may not be as good as Diana's, but he makes up for that with his determination and rage. And while both of these characters have obtained the status of God of War, when you think of the term God of War, you think of Kratos. And for that reason alone, he is today's victor. Who would win videos are always difficult to do because I try to take a look at these from an unbiased standpoint. I think inside of my own brain, I really wanted Wonder Woman to win this, but I couldn't justify giving her the victory without using like the most beefed up versions of her that exist. And I really don't think that's a good representation of the character for the majority of the time that you see her. However, Kratos is also kind of a difficult character because he starts out as a relatively weaker character and then he becomes almost absolute and godlike as time progresses. So it's difficult, but I think that Kratos definitely takes the victory in this case. But that's not all. What I'd like you to do is pick up your Chains of Chaos, go down in the comments section, and tell me all about why you think I am wrong. I will be happy to argue with each and every one of you down in the comments section. This has been Nick from Key Issues. Thank you for watching another Who Would Win. Please remember to like and subscribe. And remember the motto, comics over everything.